Welcome back to Triclaw Gaming. Now, this is going to be another hot takes video, although it's a bit less of a hot take and more of an opinion piece. A few weeks ago, Evo put out a video in response to a poll that she did on her channel, where it was revealed that about 60% of her subscribers would like to see modular building come to Jurassic World Evolution 3. And this is quite an interesting topic, and I thought that I would give my own view on the subject, especially since me and Evo have discussed this a fair amount. So before we get into my thoughts on modular building, let's look at sort of the history slightly. You see, for a very long time, park building and simulation games predominantly utilized what we generally call the prefab or prefabricated method of building parks. In this style that was utilized in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis and Zoo Tycoon games and that sort of thing, players simply utilized pre-constructed, pre-designed buildings that the developers had put in to build the parks with. They came in a predefined shape, style and size. This is also the same sort of style that Jurassic World Evolution 1 and 2 utilizes. Predefined buildings with predefined natures for your parks. With Planet Coaster and then Planet Zoo and now Planet Coaster 2, Frontier really highlighted how modular building can work very well. In this case, while the game utilizes some prefabricated buildings, the predominant purpose of the game is to give players all of the tools they need to design and create everything for their parks from scratch, whether it's everything from a roller coaster to something as small as a decorative garden or planting area. We have also seen this modular building style come to some other games like Prehistoric Kingdom, for example. Now going forward from here, I will refer to the old traditional style as prefab and modular building styles as modular, just to make it easier for us. So what is my opinion? Because I think there are both pros and cons to both the prefab method and the modular building method. But strictly looking from the perspective of Jurassic World Evolution, I think modular building would be a bad idea, and I wouldn't want it. In fact, I don't think it would be a bad idea, I think it would be a catastrophic mistake and would kill Jurassic World Evolution's waning popularity overnight. Let's look at the reasons as to why I think this. So modular building adds massive levels of complexity to the game. And I'm not talking about on the development side here, I'm talking about on the gameplay side here. Jurassic World Evolution, but really Jurassic as a franchise, has become a franchise aimed at a more generalized wide audience and definitely aimed at a younger audience. Younger gamers, I think, just wouldn't be able to manage a modular game well at all. The heightened level of complexities inherent in a modular building style, while might appeal to a certain small niche community of younger gamers, most younger gamers I think would struggle. And you can see this if you just look at the general player base for Planet Zoo does seem to be, the older gamers who are playing Planet Zoo. Now, it's not necessarily a bad thing to create a game that is not aimed at younger audiences. The problem is you're cutting the game's audience down by doing that, and that comes with additional problems. A game's success often requires it to be widely accessible to a wide audience these days. Simulation games like Jurassic World Evolution 2 are a very small part of the gaming community as a whole, and they're only about the 10th most popular genre, at least in the USA, with figures from 2023. As a result, for a simulation game to be successful, it has to be a hit with as wide an audience as possible. The complexities of modular building would, I think, drive a lot of younger players away from the game due to the added levels of the difficulty. Modularity in itself also comes with a range of other problems. It adds a huge amount of time to the process of park building. One of Evolution's key advantages is how quick and easy it is to build good-looking parks. Modularity would make that process a lot longer and just generally add more fuss. I think it also would highlight a considerable problem that modular games already have, in that the actual number of people that utilize the modular system seems to be less, and that a great majority of the audience is highly reliant on downloading already created objects by the architects of their games, a point that Evo did also make clear in her video. Now, some people have turned around and said, well, you could just enable workshop access and allow people to download as many prefabs as they want, like they do with Planet Coaster and Planet Zoo, and the younger audiences would still be able to create good parks. Well, yes, but there are inherent problems with that as well. That requires constant workshop access, and the Steam Workshop is a solidly PC thing. There is no workshop for those on console. So you're either going to have to cut the game's capabilities down for consoles, or remove it from consoles entirely, or remove the workshop. In addition, giving it workshop access would be tacitly accepting modding, and Frontier seems to be quite stubborn in their acceptance of modding of Jurassic World Evolution. Something I think is probably due to Universal and them not wanting to see their license being used in particular ways. And as I've already stated, and as Evo stated, this would be reliant on a small number of people making structures for downloading, and there's no guarantee that that would really work for the game. It would also add extra costs to Frontier to arrange all this with Steam, and it would require the creation of online features to upload and download, meaning extra development costs. Now, the alternative I have heard from some people is, why not have both systems? Well, yes, that's a great idea. However, that basically means developing two sets of mechanics and coding for one game, and that's just not developmentally useful. Remember, we know that Frontier is in a financially difficult place as a company due to the errors it's made with recent games like the F1 Manager series and the Warhammer titles. They need to be cost effective. We also know that they cut about a quarter of its staff out, so they also need to be manpower effective. Neither is doable when you're trying to put both systems in the game. Now, a lot of people would turn around in that response and say, we'll have lots of prefabs. Then why do you want modular building? Lots of prefabs is literally just what we have now. Mod makers have already proven that when more pre-built assets are added to the game, it results in builders having more and more interesting builds. Jurassic World Evolution 1 was literally saved from extinction by its modding community, which did also include decorative aspects to that title. And it is also fairly easy to create new decorative parts from existing buildings that we already have in the game, something I pointed out in a video that I'll link in the top corner. One aspect of this argument that I don't think Evo touched upon is that, does it really suit what the game is trying to do within the franchise? The defining feature of the Evolution games is that they are set in a predefined universe, the Jurassic franchise. This has a particular artistic style and design set between the two trilogies. Unlike Planet Zoo, where you're given a park of your own and you're trying to create a purely unique entity, Jurassic World Evolution is trying to embed you within the fictional universe of the Jurassic franchise and putting you in charge of creating a park that, while is yours, is a Jurassic park. That means including the symbiology of the franchise. Things like the Innovation Center, the Jurassic Park gates, etc., etc. The symbols that, when we see them, make us think that is a Jurassic building, or that is an element of the Jurassic franchise. These are things that make the game Jurassic. And I think one of the problems with modular building is that would inherently muddy the waters a little bit. What modular building pieces would you say are inherently Jurassic that we could provide people? Is it not just quicker to provide people with all the symbols of what the Jurassic movies were that they could use prefabricated? Now, with all that being said, I don't think it's inherently a bad idea for them to look at the building system in Jurassic World Evolution 3 and make improvements. Over the last few weeks and months, and probably since the beginning of this channel and since the beginning of Jurassic World Evolution 2's hype cycle, I was indicating all over the various ways in which the actual process of building parks needs to be greatly improved. Whether it's expanding on the amenity modification system and including it to far more buildings, or giving us new shapes and styles of decoration, or letting us have more control over certain elements of the park. But even I, as someone who detests how lacking in some areas Jurassic World Evolution games are, doesn't think that we need to run to the other end of the spectrum and go for straight on 100% modular building in Jurassic World Evolution 3 to create a better game. In fact, like I say, I think it would be worse for it. You would be removing one of the key critical advantages the franchise has, its accessibility to a range of audience and a range of skill, because that is, I think, the final nail in the coffin for modular building. I love the creative capabilities that modular building can provide. I played Planet Coaster, I've seen Planet Zoo builds, I've played Prehistoric Kingdom, and when Planet Coaster 2 comes out, me and my buddy Nerd Guy Productions, we're going to start a park together. I love the creative capabilities of a modular building game, but I certainly don't think that I am capable of getting everything out of a modular building game. There are some amazing builds on YouTube from amazing builders that I've seen, people whose names do not need to be mentioned in this video. You all know the people I'm talking about. These are amazingly skilled people who probably should be architects or real-life engineers for the sorts of things they come up with. Some designs of parks I've seen in Planet Zoo are absolutely incredible. Even Evo has been able to create some absolutely truly amazing things in Prehistoric Kingdom that I know I certainly couldn't make. And that for me is, I think, the nail in the coffin of modular building games. While you are capable of building anything you want, you also have to be able to actually do it. I consider myself a fairly creative person in general, but even I struggle to figure out, with all these modular pieces, how to actually bring something I have in my mind to fruition, because it's not quite the same skill. And in fact, I would tell a story from my real life to highlight that. When it came to something I studied at school, which was basically a combination of woodwork and metalwork and all those sorts of subjects, the theoretical examination, these sorts of, how you go about stuff and how certain machinery and stuff works, I aced that test, but I failed the subject overall, because when it came to actually having to make something, when it came to actually having to do the actual labor, for want of another term, of creating the object, that's where I struggled. And that, I think, is the same thing with modular building. I can create any sort of wild and random structures in my mind that I think would look great in a zoo or a dinosaur park or a roller coaster theme park. Whether or not I could actually bring them to fruition with the parts and components and the building styles and systems that we have in these games, that's a complete another matter. And for people that want to have modular building, I would ask you all, given a bunch of random components and wall sections and lighting rigs and effects and textures, could you build the Jurassic World Innovation Center? Could you build something as simple as the viewing gallery? Could you build something as simple as the fence? I would hazard a guess, no. And that for me is why I don't think modular building is the way that Jurassic World Evolution 3 should go. It should stick to what it's doing right. As the saying goes, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But that was just my thoughts on modular building. Let me know down in the comments what your thoughts about modular building as a gameplay element are, and let me also know what you think about it coming to any possible Jurassic World Evolution 3. Do you think it would be a good thing, a bad thing? Would it be something you would buy the game for? Let me know down in the comments, and while you're there, don't forget to like and check you're subscribed and fully notified for more content from all of us at Triclaw Gaming. Until next time, stay safe and goodbye.